Cavemen love bones. Bones with meat juicy. Bones with marrow, that's like a prehistoric delicacy. You are Grug. You want to know what cavemen ate before bread? Well, strap in, because it was a feast of unexpected quirks and surprises. Life wasn't about bread, life was survival. Grug's ancestors faced daily challenges, like trying not to become the main course for a saber-toothed tiger. Forget ordering takeout on their phones, they had to get dinner the hard way. If Grug wanted a snack, he had to chase it, sometimes while yelling, "Hey, dinner!" Imagine the dinner table. Instead of sharing bread and butter, they shared whatever they could catch. Their menus were as colorful as their hunting strategies were desperate. Pre-agriculture, those men and women had one mission: find food before food finds you. So, what did they actually eat? Well, here come Grug's top 5 prehistoric snacks. Number 1, bone marrow. Yes, marrow. Cavemen weren't just chewing on bones like they were candy canes. Oh no. They were cracking those bones open, digging out the gooey insides, and smearing them on whatever they could find. This was basically their fancy high-calorie butter. Grug's diet tip: high fat means high energy. Forget about that low-carb nonsense. If Grug wanted to outrun a lion, he needed energy. Number 2, roasted tubers. This was their version of modern-day fries. They dug these chunks of goodness out of the earth, roasted them over fire, and voila! Grug comforts you, they had the carbs, and they did not need an Instagram filter. Imagine if cavemen had a fast food restaurant, Cave Fries. This is how we roll, literally. Number 3, seasonal berries. Picture this: a beautiful summer day, a beautiful cave person reaching up to pluck sweet, juicy berries off a bush, then suddenly being swarmed by angry bees defending their honey stash. Talk about an extreme fruit salad. Grug has to say it, these berries were like nature's candy, but also came with a side of "you better know how to run." Number 4, shellfish middens. Not only a food, but you're talking about a gross pile of shells. How's that for lunch? No one's inviting you to check out their shell pile on a first date. But for Grug's ancestors? A shellfish buffet. Just imagine the dinner conversations: "Wow, this one's fresh. And it smells like the beach," or something much worse. And for the grand finale, organ meats. This is where it gets interesting. While you might think of tummy aches and a whole lot of no thank you, for early humans, organ meats were a priority. First to eat, and we're talking liver, heart, and kidneys. You really had to appreciate the nose-to-tail philosophy long before it was cool. Grug says, if you weren't licking blood off your hands, you weren't living like Grug's ancestors. But here's the crazy part: in this caveman diet, they had almost no cavities. That's right. The teeth of ancient humans were practically pristine. It's hard to believe, but the moment grains came into play, it was like handing a candy bar to a kid. You want to eat fancy bread? Say bye-bye to your teeth. Talk about a high-risk, high-carb diet. Now, remember the dating situation back then? Finding a partner was less about swiping left and right and more about who could throw a spear the farthest. You hunt? You gather? Perfect. Let's settle down under this rocky outcrop and make some babies. So, we have Grug reflecting here. If cavemen could survive off bone marrow and berries without getting cavities, maybe modern life isn't so complicated after all. Less bread, more berries, no dating apps, and definitely fewer trips to the dentist. But let's be honest, would Grug trade today's 24-hour fast food options for a tuber and some raw organ meat? Grug is still mad about mammoth last time. Grug prefers fire chicken over fire mammoth any day. In summary, before bread, cavemen had a uniquely strange diet that rewarded them with high energy, clean teeth, and probably a lot of wild stories about food adventures. If life teaches us anything, it's that humans have always been resourceful, whether it's hunting, gathering, or trying to figure out how to eat without getting eaten. And as Grug always says, Grug may not have invented bread, but Grug invented hunger. Stick around for the next episode where Grug might finally figure out how to stop forgetting lunch. It will be another hilarious ride through the prehistoric world. They say variety is the spice of life, but for our prehistoric pals, that variety was as limited as Grug's knowledge of washing clothes. When the seasons changed, so did their menu. There were feasts, and then there was famine, like a never-ending reality show where every episode ends with a cliffhanger. Will Grug eat tonight? Stay tuned. So, grab your sharpened sticks as we dive deeper into what else was on the caveman menu. Think of it as the original meal prep, if meal prep involved a lot of running, a little luck, and occasionally, cave bears. Number 5, fish. Yes, even Grug had to get a little slippery. Rivers were like the original Walmart, stocked with all kinds of fish. Picture Grug standing there, grunting like he's negotiating for a better price. Grug catch best fish. You pay less. He wasn't using a fishing rod, he was likely just chucking rocks and hoping for the best. If Grug got lucky, that fish could be a sumptuous dinner. If not, it was back to the drawing board, or rather, back to the bushes. But let's talk about fishing techniques. Forget fancy rods, those clever cavemen were using spears with sharpened tips. Think of it as point and stab. It wasn't just about catching fish, though, it was about making the catch look cool. Check out Grug's fish. Caught it with just one arm tied behind my back, while walking blindfolded. If only there had been a reality show back then, Grug would win all the awards and the viewers would be like, how does he do it? And here's where it gets even wilder. Grug has a theory. Maybe the reason cavemen were good at fishing was they had the ultimate catch and release game going on. Catch for now, release for later. This was probably the original before anyone even thought to call it a sustainable practice. It was like getting a taste of sushi while planning a buffet for later. Now, let's slide into number 6, insects. Yes, Grug was not above munching on bugs. They were crunchy, protein-packed snacks, and when Grug got desperate, you could hear the dramatic soundtrack in the background. Dum dum dum, what will Grug eat next? Crickets, ants, and even beetles were fair game. Just imagine Grug flicking a cricket into his mouth and calling it a power snack. Keto? Paleo? Grug just goes with crickito. Here's the kicker, insects have been around longer than Netflix, and they were basically nature's energy bars. The best part? No pesticides, no added sugars. Just the good old taste of unsanitized protein. I can hear modern diet gurus frothing at the mouth. Eat your bugs, people. But wait, here's a fun twist. Have you ever tried scaring off a hungry predator with your snack? Picture Grug in the wild watching an angry lion. Instead of running away, someone gets the brilliant idea to feed the lion some insects. Hey big cat, chew on these while I escape. Sure, it might have worked, or it might become Grug's lunch. The history says, better to be a snack thief than a snack, right? Moving on to number 7, wild game. Mammoths, reindeer, gazelles. If it moved and was edible, it was on the caveman radar. We're talking about serious hunting expeditions. This wasn't just a casual outing with the guys, these hunts were like the Olympics, but sort of lacking in hygiene. Grug not bring snack. Grug want free mammoth. Bigger than house. Now imagine the follow-up dinner when someone says, hey, remember when Grug tried to take down that giant mammoth alone? Spoilers, all cavemen became part of the team struggle narrative, complete with wild gesticulations and over-exaggerated facial expressions. Grug would say, it was a forged bond, you would not be there, you'd be breakfast. And here comes the weird twist, cavemen built legends around their hunting exploits. They'd return to the cave triumphantly, tell the tales, and suddenly Grug was a hero. Grug not just caught mammoth. Grug did it while blindfolded and on one leg. Who needs Instagram followers when you have a cave full of envious ears? Then there was the iconic cooking method. We can't ignore the simple act of throwing all of this onto an open flame, hoping for the best. We're talking firing up dinner, and they didn't even have tongs. It was just good old bare hands, a lot of smoke, and the smell of charred meat. It was like an ancient barbecue workout. Grug lift rock, cook meat, while running from fire. Fire good, but fire hot. But here's where it gets entertaining. Those meals were always communal. Picture the scene, multiple families sitting around a roaring fire, sharing their bounty, possibly arguing about who got the bigger share. No, Grug took more meat last time. It's your turn. Meanwhile, all Grug wanted to do was grab the best piece and run home. And speaking of home life, let's talk about berries one more time. Cavemen had it best when the berry bushes were ripe. Berries were dessert, snack, and could have easily launched a sweet tooth revolution in the Stone Age. Grug like berry. Grug eat berry. Grug squash berry when angry. The problem? Needing to outrun angry bees, which could leave quite a sting. Nothing like fighting nature while trying to enjoy nature's candy. And do you know how they preserved food? It wasn't with fancy freeze-drying techniques. They relied on the seasons, hunting, and gathering as needed. A real-life game of stock up or starve. Life was simple: if you couldn't catch it, it might just eat you. Talk about pressure. Ever try to open a jar of honey? Now imagine doing that for a whole hive while dodging angry bees. Honey raiding was the ultimate treasure hunt. Grug would sneak in, grab the sticky goodness, and then run away flailing. Grug thinks he is now better prepared for date night than some cavemen ever were. Bring dessert? No problem. Just distract those bees. But what happens when food is scarce? It's not all rainbows and berries. There were lean times. When resources dried up, it was time to tap into whatever remained. Gathering was a matter of life and death, and Grug's ancestors learned to make a little go a long way. It was the ultimate ancient lesson: how to survive without a grocery store in sight. Now here's a twist: Grug thinks they likely turned to each other for companionship during these rough patches too. You hunt, I gather? Perfect. Now let's have babies and see which one of us gets eaten first. Talk about a real situationship definition. No swiping left or right, just get matching hunting skills. All in all, Grug's ancestors had a pretty incredible cooking adventure. Not that it was easy, but it shaped everything about their lives. Their meals weren't simply about flavor, they were about survival. They faced complications like hungry predators, the days when none of the hunting led to a catch, and the constant test of endurance. Today, if we take a page from Grug's diet handbook, we might consider going back to the basics. Instead of being held hostage to drive-through lines, how about being adventurous like Grug? Find berries, not bread. But again, shorter lines and no hunting disasters would be a big plus too. So remember this: before bread and fancy cheese boards, there were cavemen surviving off fruit, bone marrow, and the occasional fish. It wasn't gourmet dining, but it was a diet that worked for thousands of years. Grug may not have been the best chef, but he sure knew a few things about making survival happen, even if it meant dodging bees, hungry animals, and occasionally, his own kitchen. As Grug steps back from our prehistoric journey, he finds himself wondering if there's a simpler way to live, one that involves running less and enjoying dinner more. Maybe next time Grug readies for a feast, he'll keep the mammoth away and grab some roasted tubers instead. Join Grug next time as he dives into more caveman shenanigans and uncovers ancient secrets that just might surprise you. Until then, remember, Grug may not be the brightest stone in the toolkit, but he sure knows what it means to eat like a prehistoric champ.